I know you've been waiting for this, part two of the outline for your speech. So exciting. So, anyway, here it is. Now, in the first video, I talked about the introduction, and I ended with the transition statement moving into the body of the speech. I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on every one of these slides. You can go back and look at them. I know that in the first presentation, I used a document. I thought for this one, it's actually easier with the PowerPoint slides. But the slideshow is in the Canvas files, so you can just go back and pull them up and use them as reference. By the way, everything that I'm going over on this is on the test. Yeah, that's always the test. So let me talk about the body of the speech. Remember, speech has three main parts: the introduction. Let me see the introduction, the body of the speech, and the conclusion. And remember what I think is the most important part? The conclusion. Why? Because that's what people remember. But you still need to have the good body of the speech. You need to have good content, organization, so that what you're telling your audience makes sense and is understandable. So anyway, developing your main points. All right. So the body of the speech consists of, and for you, it will be three main points. Remember that magic number three main points. So let me talk about them. Each point needs to be clear. It needs to have relevance. In other words, each main point needs to support the other main points. And balance. You don't want to, let's say, a main point number one that's real long and just a tiny little second main point and so on. They need to be balanced. And toward about the second half of this presentation, I'm going to go back to my All That Glitters gold speech. We're going to look at the body of my speech, and I want you to think, do I actually achieve this? Do I have clarity? Do I have relevance? And are the main points balanced? So let's see what we have here. Whoops. I'll try it this way. There we go. All right. So the parts of the speech. I just went over the parts of the speech. During the introduction, you got to get their attention. You have, you say your name, et cetera, why you're giving the speech. That's the credibility. And the thesis statement and the preview of the main points. By the way, the introduction, if you remember from my other lectures, in a 10-minute speech, whatever, the introduction shouldn't take up more than about 45 seconds. So the introduction isn't very long, or shouldn't be very long. The body of the speech takes up most of the time in the presentation. Okay, so obviously the second part of the speech is the body, and that's where we go through all the points and the sub points. It says well, I should have just put sub points, but that's all right. You'll see as we go along. All right. So now, in the parts of the speech, I've also talked about transition statements. In the first lecture, I had a very strong transition statement that said, and I don't have it in front of me, but pretty sure it said something to the effect. So today I'm going to answer these questions and tell you how we've learned about where gold actually comes from. All right, so by saying that, I'm letting everyone know I'm moving on to the body of the speech. Well, you need transition statements in the body of the speech as well when you move from main point to main point and then to the conclusion. Once again, I will show you this when I get down to my outline once more. All right, so organizing a speech. There's a lot on here. What do we have here? Developing your main points is important step, blah, blah, blah. All right, you need three main points in your speech. You need two or three subpoints in each main point. This will become a little clearer when we look at my outline if you're confused about that. So you have a main point, and then you have two or three subpoints that support whatever you just said as a main point. And again, here's clarity is important. Everything needs to support. And I'm going to give you some examples of how I went through the process with my speech on gold, where my original speech wasn't very good. I had to edit it, I had to rethink it, and so on. I'll tell you what I did when I get there. So anyway, I've already said this. The main points are they tell the audience exactly what you're going to talk about in that segment. And the main points, this is very important. The main points must clearly support your specific purpose. Remember, that's what you want people to know by the end of the speech. And the thesis statement that you made, what you actually said in the introduction. If you draft out your speech and you look at those main points, and that's why you have to have that specific purpose. And you can see what you have, say, in main point 2 really isn't relevant to that specific purpose, then change it. That's why you write the specific purpose out. That's why I'm having you send me your specific purpose and thesis statement so I can see how you're doing with it. The main points. All right, make sure each one's relevant. Some of this is a bit redundant from what I've already said. The main points should be directly relevant to the topic. And you think, well, of course. Well, why wouldn't they be? Yet again, I will show you when I go back to my. Well, no, actually, I can give you an example of that right now. When I first started working on All That Glitters, I got really excited about the gold of King Tutankhamun. And even though it is gold and it's really interesting, I put that into the first part of my speech and I realized it doesn't support my specific purpose. And what was my specific purpose? I wanted people to know how gold was created in the cataclysmic collisions of supermassive stars. So there you go. So King Tut wasn't very relevant. I got King Tut in a little bit, but most of what I had in there originally I threw out. Okay, review your specific. I just said this. Continually review your specific purpose. Make sure that what you're putting in the speech supports that. And then the points need to be related to each other. I had to do some changing in my original outline for this speech also. And I'll wait and explain that when I get there. It'll be a little easier to understand. And then identify at least one reference to support each main point. I did that in my speech. I said them out loud. You're going to see them again when we get to my outline. All right. Now, again, I'm going to beat these transition statements to death. You must have transition statements. Otherwise, we don't know you're moving from main point to main point. All right. So after introducing the first main point, when you move on, you have a transition. After the second main point, transition. Third main point, a transition to the conclusion. Again, you'll see that in just a moment. All right, all the subpoints must be equally important in relation to the main point. Yeah, again, if you say something about whatever the topic may be, dog training, and then you end up talking about the food you should feed the dogs, well, in a subpoint, that doesn't support the main point. Okay, so you need to have at least 2, and usually 3 works real well, main points. Sometimes I get outlines and I see that people have put 5, 6, even 7 subpoints under a main point. That destroys the balance of the speech. Try to keep it fairly consistent. Main point 1, 2 or 3 subpoints. Main point 2, 2 or 3 subpoints. Main point 3, 2 or 3 subpoints. So, and it's just simpler that way as well. All right, so using the transition to connect the main points. I keep getting ahead of myself on this. You can look at the slides, but there it is. When you shift from main point to in your speech, again, those transitions really help clarify what you're doing. This is not that hard. Just look at my example. Remember, I put my outline called All That Glitters into the Canvas file. I put a template. It's called Informative Speech Template in the Canvas files. You can look at them, you can compare them, use them as a way to save yourself a lot of time in preparing your speech. All right, what else do I have here? Okay, so as I said, I'm going to use my speech as the example here. So let's see if I pull this off. All right, so here's my first main point. All right, so I've transitioned into my speech, and my first main point, I'm just going to read it here. And I think I pretty well just read it when I presented the speech. Humans discovered gold by accident at least 3,000. See, even I'm getting myself confused today. Humans, according to the book Gold, Nature and Culture, discovered gold by accident at least 7,000 years ago. Whenever it happened, we've been fascinated by this stuff ever since. And then I just briefly mention again that, the old gold artifacts are about 6,500 years old. The gold was very soft, and so wasn't used for anything but decorations, and then coins eventually. And there I did get in my third sub point, I did talk about King Tut's gold. But why? Not just because it was cool, because I wanted to point out that the ancients thought gold was immortal, because it didn't change like silver and iron and copper and so on. It always stayed the same. I'm getting at something here. So each of these subpoints supports that main point, the discovery of gold a long time ago. I hope you see how this is developing. Now, in my original outline for this speech, I started with King Tut. And oh my gosh, I got so excited. I talked about the golden mask of King Tut, and that when they unwrapped his mummy, they found a golden dagger. And they also discovered an iron dagger, which turned out to be made from the iron of a meteorite. It was so exciting. But it didn't support my main point. It didn't even support my specific purpose. So what did I do? Threw it all out, and this is what I came up with. So look at those three main points. Have I achieved balance and clarity? Hope so. All right, so next one. I have a transition statement. I'm done with main point number 1. And this is my transition statement. This is why I threw King Tut in there. Ancient people thought gold was immortal and fit for the gods. Gold does not tarnish or rust like other metals. Silver turns black, copper goes green, but gold never changes. It was immortal. All right, so now I'm done with that section. I'm done with that first main point. So I'm moving on. Main point number 2. My second main point. All right. Again, in my original outline for this speech, I did something very different. But let's look at what I have here first. All right, so the heading of main point 2 is how much gold is out there. How much gold? In fact, I have it repeated twice. I guess it's very important. How much gold is out there? All right. According to Barron's financial report, there's that reference supporting everything again. According to Barron's financial report, as of 2016, there was 166,000 metric tons of gold. And I say it sounds like a lot, but it would only make a cube 69 feet on a side. It would only fill 3 Olympic-sized swimming pools. And then I briefly mentioned these guys called alchemists, who even tried to create more gold. I'm setting up the idea here that there's not much gold. So why isn't there much gold? I hope that's what people are thinking when they hear this speech. Why isn't there much gold? What happened? So there you go. This is main point 2. Did I achieve balance? Well, I'm sticking with a pretty clear plan here. 3 main points and 3 subpoints. I just to make it easy. All right. So then I move on to a transition statement. And what did I say? I'm done with main point 2 now. We have long known how to work with gold for thousands of years. It was not until the 20th century that we understood the science of gold. So it's a pretty clear transition statement. I started with ancient people, the discovery of gold, and their belief that it was immortal. In main point 2, I supported that concept from main point 1 with the fact that there wasn't much gold, or there isn't much gold, that people even tried to make more gold. Oh, in main point 2, when I originally outlined this speech, I got off on a tangent about what we use gold for now. Now, does that support my specific purpose? I want my audience to know how gold is formed. No. But saying there's not very much of it, that leads us into, then where in the world does it come from? Does it come from anywhere in the world? Exactly. You're thinking, yes, it does. It comes out of mines. Okay, so there's my transition from main point 2. So let's go to main point 3. Okay, here it is. Main point 3. The science of gold and how it came to be part of the earth is an incredible story. Gold is element 79. It's bright, yellow, dense, and it doesn't react with oxygen. Okay, so, well, actually, I'm sorry. I do apologize. I jumped down into my first main point. So my main, or sub point, my main point here is that it's an incredible story. And then for my sub points we now call it element 79. Remember, I said I'm moving on to science. Uh, and I make the statement here, doesn't react with the oxygen. That's why it's immortal. Okay, now, again, when you look at my outlines, I didn't write very much out here. This is my speech. I've practiced it enough. I know what I want to say. So I have here a lesson about elements, and I reference The Magic Furnace, the book The Magic Furnace, and I talk a little bit about how gold is formed by supermassive stars that create these heavy elements. And I think actually I have, uh, as part of C, massive stars create heavy elements, I have a statement that goes with that. The death of stars spreads these elements into the galaxy to become part of new forming solar systems. All right, so main point 3. When I look at this, and I'm my most uh, difficult critic, I don't think this is as balanced as the other 2 main points. I could work on this a little bit more. I do want you to realize that in main point 1, I reference the book Gold, Nature, and Culture. In main point 2, I reference Barron's financial report. And look, here in main point 3, I reference the book The Magic Furnace. So I just get them in that way. The 3 references that are required in the speech. You can use more. I love references, but you need to have 3 in the speech. All right, so then I make a transition. We have long known how to work with gold for thousands of years. Oh, something happened here. I accidentally, okay, how did, see. Okay, that was I do apologize. I will fix this in the uh, PowerPoint that's in the file. That is my transition statement. I got myself confused. What you see that I just went to, I copied from my second main point. So anyway, I do apologize for that, but I think, when you look at it in the file, it'll be corrected. So there is the death of these stars, blah, blah, blah. So that's my transition statement. All right, so ignore that. Okay, so the body of the speech is where all the information is. You need to have main points that are balanced and support each other. Did I do that? What the ancients thought of gold. There's not very much gold, and how gold is created. All right. Did I have transition statements? Yes, I had a transition statement after the introduction and between each main point. And then did my subpoints support each of the main points? I think it worked pretty well with that. So again, take a look at this. Just pull the PowerPoint up and have a look at it, and then you can go from there in developing your own speech. Once again, you must send me an outline with the video of your speech. I have to have that outline. Do not write your speech out word for word. I don't want to see this body of a speech as several long paragraphs. That's not the way you outline the body of a speech. This is. So hopefully I've given you all the tools you'll need to create the body of your own speech without having to reinvent the wheel. I've said this before and I'll say it one more time. Oh, I'll say it many more times. If you have any questions, if you watch my video or you go look at the slides and you think, I just don't get it, please email me and I'll help you. As always, thank you for taking your time for listening, and you'll have the third installment very soon. Thanks a lot.